This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
Consultants and coaches run into a lot of stuff over their careers. A bunch of it never to ever be spoken of again. In a career that has taken her across Canada and the United States, Laura Watson may well have heard it all. She joins us for this Bizgnus Interviews episode to talk about how a typical organization can get the most out of a coach. What is the difference between a consultant and somebody who is being a coach? There isn't any particular standard, is there?
There is no standard because the coaching profession is not a regulated profession. So, for example, I came out of the counseling profession originally. I have a master's in social work. That's where I started in the nonprofit arena. And in order to call myself a social worker, I had to have specific credentials and I had to apply to the College of Social Workers and have that registration. Coaching and consulting does not operate that way. So to answer your question, the difference between coaching and consulting is you hire a consultant, for their expertise. The idea is that they have learned a particular skill, have a particular background, they're an expert in something, and you are hiring them for their advice and to kind of be told what to do. A coach does not tell you what to do. A coach is about understanding your goals and objectives. It's about being an objective sounding board for you, and then asking you questions and showing up from a place of exploration with you, so that a coach is there to help you, like I said, to be a sounding board so you can figure out what you want for yourself. And with your goals and objectives in mind, are going to be steering you in that direction, but are not going to be showing up necessarily to tell you what to do. Now, that said, because coaching is not a regulated profession, there are standards that the International Coach Federation sets out, but coaches have to voluntarily adhere to those standards. And so it's good if you're shopping for a coach, it'd be helpful to know that, because you might want to look for a coach who voluntarily adheres to those standards. But a coach is here to understand you, understand your goals and objectives, what you want to create for the future, and then ask you questions and probe your thinking to help you move in alignment with that. And then the lines get blurred a little bit because coaches have all kinds of different backgrounds. Like myself, I promote myself as almost a holistic coach, if you will, because I have the credentials to provide the counseling expertise. Although people hire me for business coaching, I would say a lot of my coaching sessions end up being, blurring into life coaching at times and even some counseling. So although one day I might be writing a business plan with someone, the next day I might be talking to them about their addictions, their parenting, or even their infidelities. So yeah, it can get a little crazy, a little interesting at times. So a lot of it depends on the coach's training and background and expertise, because the lines can certainly get blurred.
If I'm a manager or leader of some organization, how do I know when I need a coach as opposed to a consultant?
Great question. Well, as a manager in an organization, for example, I'm working with a business owner right now who is working with coaches and consultants. So he's obviously working with myself. And as we started working on his leadership abilities and how he shows up as a leader and who he wants to be as a leader, we learned that there were some gaps in his organization. Particularly, he's in the engineering background. He's come up through the trades and now is running his own company. And so what we discovered is that he does not, for example, have a financial background. So he has since hired a fractional CFO to act as a consultant in his company around how the finances are structured, because he needs specific expertise and advice in that area. He's also hired a fractional HR director because there's gaps in his contracts with his employees and gaps in how they're managing time off and what have you. So he's getting specific expertise on very specific issues, while I support him on being clear about who he wants to be a leader, as a leader, how he wants to show up, and then how, once he's clear on who he wants to be, how does he put that into practice on a daily basis?
So apparently then you think that leaders can actually be groomed and grow, and you can plant a leader and watch that person grow over the years, as opposed to somebody who's born a leader. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. I don't believe that leaders are born at all. Leadership is a big umbrella topic, and there are lots of things that fall inside of that, as far as mental and emotional mastery, communication skills, goal setting, time management, keeping yourself on track with your goals, and executing consistently, because we all can struggle with time management and focus at times, because there's always a difference between putting out, a lot of leaders are kind of feel like they're putting out fires all day as they're dealing with their people, and they can get very reactive and then not be able to have a lot of time to be proactive and strategic. And so balancing that can be tricky sometimes. And then depending on what the leader is doing. So for example, lots of my leaders are small business owners. And again, they're subject matter experts. Maybe they're an architect who knows their craft very well, but now they're leading people and now they're having to sell and they don't have sales skills. So, they end up needing some training and support around how to sell effectively. So like I said, leadership is a big umbrella, but it is a set of skills and skills that can be learned. Absolutely.
And do you prefer being the leadership coach or the consultant coach in the in you what you do?
It's kind of, I show up to serve my clients and and deliver whatever they need. So I can't say I really have a favorite. I love leadership development. I really love helping people be the best that they can be. And that's obviously a broad area. But inside of that, I guess if I think about it a little bit, one of my favorite topics is communication, because it really is the effectiveness of our communication determines the effectiveness of our relationships, whether they're business relationships or whether they're personal relationships. So one of the communication is a place that people struggle. They may not know how to give feedback effectively. They may take on too much problem ownership versus helping people be problem solvers. Like lots of my clients want to be fixers because they're very responsible, and then they end up taking on a little too much. So I support them in understanding what's theirs to own, what's not theirs to own, and then how can they show up and help their people start to solve their own problems. And those are all communication skills, and communication skills that they can use in the office, they can use with their business partners, and they can take home and use in their personal relationships with their spouse and with their children. There really is huge impact for the effectiveness of our communication, which is why I love that topic so much, because I just feel like as people embrace it and become effective communicators, their whole lives change. And so it feels, for me, it's very satisfying to know that I'm having that big an impact in their lives.
Can you give us an example of somebody you don't have to name a name, but some example where you've seen that happen?
Oh, absolutely. I worked with a business owner a few years ago. He had a team of about 7 people, and he he was struggling with boundaries in that he would come to his office and he kind of shared too much. And He struggled with his communication skills. He would just kind of blabber on and without boundaries, would share too much. And he also had emotional mastery challenges. So if he got stressed, he got very explosive. And so as I worked with him and he started to learn what was appropriate and when it was appropriate, his relationships with his team improved because they were frustrated when we started working together. Some of them, he had high turnover rates, and turnover is expensive. You have to retrain people and it damages the reputation of your company. So as he improved his communication skills at the office, his turnover rates went down, his relationships with his team improved, culture in the organization improved. And then he started his family while we were working together. And so he took the communication skills that we worked on into his marriage, which improved his marriage and improved his made a huge difference in his parenting. Now his children are, 10, 11 years old. He has got a strong, healthy marriage. He's got great relationships with his kids, and he's got a strong, very, very effective team, all because he improved his communication skills, which improved his relationships.
Do you ever feel like you're driving the fire truck and you're the first one on the scene?
I do, because unfortunately, lots of people don't hire a coach until they feel like they're in trouble and they're panicking. Like, for example, I had another client had running his business for about 10 years and was so frustrated he was ready to walk away. And so he hired me kind of as a last ditch effort. And so sometimes, yeah, what I do is I walk in and we do triage. And it helps actually that I worked on a 24-hour crisis team for 7 years. So I'm used to working in crisis. So, when I come in on the scene, I really ask lots of questions, understand what's most important right now. Because if there's triage to deal with, we have to manage that triage, get the stress levels down so that then we can get into a strategic place and start planning and executing on strategy. But you can't be logical and strategic when you're stressed out and putting out fires. So we got to put out a few of the fires first, and then we can go to the other side and get strategic. So yeah, sometimes I feel that way. Absolutely.
Well, instead of dialing 911 or calling the Ghostbusters, you must have, you probably have a website where people can get hold of more information. What is it?
Yes, well, thanks for asking. So my website is venture, venture, coaching.ca, so because I am located in Canada, in Calgary. So venturecoaching.ca, and my email is laura@venturecoaching.ca. So very easy to find me, and I'm always open to have a conversation, to, learn what's going on and provide some support. And my website has got tons of free resources on it. There's ebooks there that talk about communication, talk about sales, time management. There's even business planning tools there. So if someone is in a place where they're looking for resources, they can get lots of free stuff there.
Do you find most of your customers, clients are coming from Canada or the US, or is it a even mix or what?
I'm probably about 75-25, to be honest. So 75 Canadian based, all across Canada. And then the other 25 would be across the US. Zoom obviously makes it a lot easier these days. I was doing Zoom long before the pandemic. So, and people have become much more comfortable with this platform for meeting. So it does allow me to work with anybody, anywhere.
Laura, what would you like to add? It could be almost anything. You have such a broad background.
Well, yeah, I've been really fortunate. I've been in the game coaching now over 20 years. And what I really specialize in is helping people bridge theory to practice. There's a lot of coaches out, coaching, because it's not a regulated profession. You get people hanging their shingle, whether they've had a weekend course in it or they've taken a university program. And so it kind of is buyer beware. And so if someone is considering hiring a coach, I invite them to shop around. I tell people you don't usually buy the first pair of jeans you try on, and you shouldn't, probably hire the first coach you try on. So ask around, get referrals. Most coaches will offer a complimentary session so you can get to know their style. So take advantage of that if you're shopping, and talk to a few coaches, try them out, because an effective coaching relationship relies on trust and fit. You have to have a trusting relationship. It has to be a safe space to talk about difficult things, and there has to be that rapport, that fit there. So I highly recommend people shop around, talk to people, and do their due diligence through that process.
You've been listening to the Biznews Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@biznews.com. That's BIZGNUS.com. Thanks for listening.